to the show. This is Real Talk with Odun, and my name still remains Odun Akirele. We are so excited to have you on the show with us today, as the topic we will be talking about is a very interesting one. It's a topic where women often ask this question that why is it that there is a different rule for my husband than me? Over time, I've had conversation with women where they will tell me that they feel as if there is a certain rule book for them and a certain rule book for their spouse. In my own case, when I'm leaving the house for work, I need to tell my husband. When I get to work, he needs to know. When I'm getting off work, he needs to know. He doesn't do that. And when I complain and I'm like, why are you not telling me your own movements? He feels it's not the place of the woman to know the movements of the man, which I feel is double standard. And so what we'll be talking about today is double standard in marriage. So, and I have with me guests in the studio. I have a virtual studio that's joining us all the way from Houston. Her name is Funke Akiokun. Funke Akiokun is a gospel music minister. She's popularly known with Oriki. She eulogizes God in different languages. She is a beauty consultant and she's currently the CEO of RSVP Events in Houston, here in the United States. She's born to the family of late Chief and late Chief Mrs. Koyejo from Ifon, Ondo State in Nigeria. And she's happily married to her best friend, Tayo Akiokun. And they are blessed with 4 lovely children. In fact, yesterday was her 26th wedding anniversary. So we are going to give her a shout out on the show. Happy wedding anniversary, Funke. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show with us. My other guest
You're
is a studio
welcome.
guest. Her name is Cynthia Roos. She's my darling friend. She is the latest grandmother in town. She's the mother of 3. She has 2 boys and 1 girl. And like I said, she is a grandmother. And she really doesn't look her age, but I don't know if she want me to mention her age anyway. Welcome to the show, Cynthia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you here. Okay, so like I said earlier, this issue of double standard in marriage, I'm going to address it first to Funke. What is your own opinion? Do you think there's double standard in marriage?
Yes, there is always double standard in marriage, and you spoke about something when you were introducing this topic. You said something about a rule book. There is no rule book because the story in your home is different from the story in my home.
Okay.
And so how we're going to deal with issues in your home is different from how I am going to deal with issues in my home. So it depends on what happens. It depends on the kind of person you are, the kind of person your husband is. That's what determines how we are going to, handle issues. So when it comes to double standard is the rule which you want to apply when it comes to your spouse. You don't let it apply when it comes to you. I'll give you an example.
Okay, just hold on. Is it that the rules that apply to you, are you the one making the rules? Or like where we come from as Africans, we are trained from a very young age to cater to the needs of our men. And so there is a
No,
certain rules on ground that we need to follow to please our men. So
no.
are
When
we
I
the
say
one
the
putting
rule,
down those rules?
no. When I say the rule, I mean in your mind, this is the rule. This is what you want your husband to do when it comes to this issue.
Okay.
But when the case is reversed, you are not doing the same thing. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You want to, you've gone to work, you get back, you're very tired, you want to sleep, you don't want any noise around you in the room. And so if your husband is around picking something and you're hearing sound, you don't like it because you feel, oh, I'm tired and I want to sleep. And, it's noisy because of the things you're doing. And then you are up and the guy wants to take a rest. And you are busy cleaning the room. So the case is reversed now, and you are doing what you don't want him to do when it has to do with you. So that is
Okay.
double standard. Yeah. And then another example, which is common, is your own people come, I mean, your family comes to visit, and then you are all around, you're taking care of them, you're running around them, and then his family comes, and you're not doing the same, or you don't want him to do the same. Or when he does the same, you feel he's giving them too much attention. So you, I mean, double standard is what you will want when something is going on. Is, I mean, when he wants that, you see it, or when she wants that, you don't take it well.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying, but I think a central example that is peculiar to us being African women is the issue of um, infidelity. Like back home in Africa, a man get a pass and a woman doesn't. Like once a woman is caught cheating, she sends packing. When a man is caught cheating, they'll tell you he's a man. He's allowed to have more than one.
What?
Yeah. So that's
No.
a central example.
Yeah.
No.
You need to ask yourself, who are these people saying he's allowed to? I mean, that's this perspective of people. That does not make it right. The fact that people are saying it does not mean it is right. What is wrong is wrong. Infidelity, whether you are a man, you are a woman, infidelity has the same definition. Infidelity is infidelity. Infidelity is a woman cheating on her husband or a man cheating on his wife. So now what the
Yes.
society, I mean, how the society is taking it, depending on where you are, depending on your culture, that is a different thing, but that doesn't make it right.
Yeah, it doesn't make it right. But the culture thing is what I am talking about double standard. The culture thing is our culture permeates some things for a man than for a woman.
Exactly. Like in
Yeah.
our culture, the women are raised to take care of their man and the children. Right off, that's just normal. When even in my own
Yeah.
experience, I would work, he would work, but I would come home, cook, bathe the children, and get everything ready for the next day. And so that's definitely double standard.
Yeah. So that's actually what I'm talking about. There is a central example of double standard that the women of this age are trying to kick against because they are working as well. They are bringing in the bacon to the home as well. And so they feel the yardstick should be the same.
I think
Yeah. So what I've said is I've tried to define what double standard is. Do you understand? So we're actually saying the same thing. So how do we avoid double standard?
Okay.
Is what we're talking about now. How we avoid double standard is, remember we said culture. But this day and age, that is why you have things like marriage seminars, you have marriage counselors. That is why you have a program like this put together where, you know, we can talk to spouses about how they can deal with things like this based on other people's experience, based on their faith, based on what, you know, they can, counselors, marriage counselors can tell them, because there are issues like this. So with this kind of program, we're able to tell them, if you are going through this is how to avoid it. And one of the ways to avoid it is put your spouse before you. If you learn to be selfless, think of your spouse first. So when you are doing those things, you don't see it as you're doing anything. You see it as both of you are working towards your marriage. And if you see anything that points to a double standard and you don't like, communicate it to your spouse. Let your spouse know this is a double standard. This is what you're doing. This is what, you know, I don't like about it. Talk about it. That's one of the ways to avoid double standard. And this culture thing of saying the woman has to be the one to take care of the man, take care of the children, take care of the house. I remember while growing up, I was in church in Nigeria. I remember one of my pastors gave us an example how he used to go to the market, shop, and cook for his wife. And
Yeah, my
told
dad
us, he
too.
said,
My dad does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, open the Bible and show me where it is written that it is only women that should cook. He said, if you can open the Bible, I'm a pastor. If you tell me, if you show me where it is in the Bible, that a woman will have to go to work, the husband goes to work, they come back, the husband is sitting down reading newspapers, and then the wife goes to the kitchen and you don't do anything to help the woman. Do you understand? So I'm just dealing with the culture we're talking about that. Now we have so many things that help us, to conquer all these problems. Because now the men, the women, we have so many things to listen to. We have seminars to listen to. We have books to read about how we can, make our marriage work and make sure we're happy in our marriages.
I want to say that back 20 years ago and further, I think it was just expected for the woman to do everything. But now that I'm single, I see that men have completely changed. They are cooking. They're more considerate of the woman. They want to make their woman happy. I mean, it seems like everything has changed.
It's changing, yeah.
And I'm in shock.
Yeah, I think it's changing now because women these days are demanding for more. Like I said earlier, women these days are more exposed to the reality that we are actually supposed to be helpmates. We are supposed to help each other, not just financially, but even with home chores. Because that's what partners do. We are supposed to be partners, do things together.
Equal partners.
Yeah.
Equal partners.
Equal partners,
right.
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that's the difference now. But now, to go back to you, Cynthia, this issue of double standard, from your own culture, do you think it's still out there? Do you think it's going on in marriages from where you're coming from?
As far as I have relatives that are older, my aunts and my uncles, and it's definitely still double standard. She does everything and he gets to relax and do whatever he needs to do, and that's fine. But the younger generation, my kids, and I see the other younger generation, it has definitely changed. So that is a good thing. Women are empowering women. So I think the whole society has changed, to make it more equal. And everybody wants to make everybody happier. So
everybody wants to work out their marriage.
Yes.
They want to put in the hard work now. And
Definitely.
So this double standard thing applies to having the opposite sex as a friend. As a lady, they tell you once you're married, your best friend is your husband. And now the husband can still keep all the friends he comes into the marriage with. And you as a lady can keep male friends that you've made before you got married. So I want us to talk about this issue of having the opposite sex as your best friend when it comes to double standard. Okay?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll talk about having the opposite sex as your friend. For both parties, for the man and for the woman.
And the woman.
And the woman. So, for a marriage relationship, when you are a lady, for example, and you are married, what you can do when you are single is different from what you can do when you are married. And when it comes to friends of the opposite sex, we need to have a protective relationship, in the sense that whatever you're doing, you need to think of your marriage, you need to think of your spouse. How will he see this? And so, in making sure that you don't send the wrong signal, not just to your spouse, but to people out there, you need to involve your spouse in what you're doing. If you have a friend who you are close to, you have to be sure that your spouse approves of that relationship. He or she needs to know exactly what's going on. And then it is always better when, as a couple, you are both friends to your friend. than only you being the friend to your opposite sex friend. And the things you do and the places you go with such a friend needs to be done with care and decently. I'll give you an example. If, for example, you have a friend, Sister Odun, who is a man, and he comes home to visit you when your husband is not around, and you are alone with your friend of the opposite sex, seeing a movie in your house, and you do that for maybe like 2 3 days, and your husband comes back and he knows about it. Oh, he finds out, oh, your friend has been here, you've been seeing a movie together, you know, he might not like it because, like I said, you need to watch the kind of places and the kind of things you are doing with a friend of the opposite sex when you are now married. Again, you don't want to open yourself up to temptation. So you need to be careful also. And the feelings of your husband also will depend on the kind of trust. If your husband has trust issues, it could be a problem for you in your marriage. Because sometimes I mean, what it seems like is not what it really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you begin to give your husband the reason to doubt, it can affect your relationship with your husband.
Well,
So,
you
like I
want
said, for me, the best thing is your friend should be your husband's friend. Your husband's friend should be your friend.
Okay, let's hold that thoughts and go on a short break. We'll be back soon.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back to the show. Okay, before we went on the short break, we were talking about having the opposite sex as a friend. And there is a statement that Stafunke made. She said, you should be friends with who your spouse is friends with. Now, my own thing that I'm going to address to you, Cynthia, is most of the times I can be comfortable with someone that my spouse is not comfortable with. Like, how do you measure that? So is it a must? Do I need to force my spouse to be comfortable with that person that that he is not comfortable with, because I want them to be friends?
it all comes down to communication. That's the key right there. Your husband will definitely voice his opinion about your friends, and you will about his. So you have to be respectful of what his opinion is and what he's wishing or wanting. Because however you treat him with his friends is how you want him to treat you with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you like his friends, he should like your friends. If there's one friend he doesn't like, then it might turn around back on you. So you have to figure out how this situation is going to work between the two of you.
Okay, no, so if he doesn't like this particular friend, do I stop being friends with that person because he doesn't like that friend?
Well, it all depends what type of relationship you have with this friend. Is it a 20-year relationship? Is it just a brand new relationship? How important is that friendship over your marriage? So I think that's where you have to make a decision.
Okay, so I'm still going to come back to you with that question. Like, a typical scenario is this person, this friend of mine, having a guy as a best friend. The husband doesn't really mind. Is that trusting? He trusts them and he knows there's nothing is comfortable with them. But then when it now comes to the issue of the husband having a female friend as well as a friend, the wife is not comfortable. The wife is like, she needs to be friends with me first. So to me, that's double standard, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a double standard we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
That's a double standard we're talking about. So if your own friend, if it's, I mean, you have to, you have, like I said before, you have to put yourself in his shoes. If you are in his shoes, are you going to take it from him? Do you understand? So this is the double standard we're talking about. For you, he has accepted your own friend as his.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you should be able to accept his own friend as yours. So if your husband has a friend, depending on what you are seeing that is making you not to be comfortable.
Okay, let's talk about that, because that was actually going to be my next question. Because you know, women, we say we have this intuition that I don't feel good with this person. My spirit is not working well with this person. That's the person that's supposed to be close to your husband, who is a woman. So now you now made a statement of depending on how I feel about that person. But my
No, I said
husband,
depending on what you are talking about. It depends
okay,
on why you don't feel comfortable.
there's really
There's
no
so
reason.
many reasons why you don't feel comfortable.
There's really no reason. It's just intuition. You just said your intuition. You have this feeling. Your spirit.
It still goes back to the communication we're talking about. In everything in marriage, communication is key. You need to discuss it with your husband. Talk about it over and over and over again. What you don't want is you don't want something that will destroy your marriage.
Your own.
You don't want your marriage to be destroyed because you have a friend who your husband doesn't want you to be friends with, or you have a friend who your wife does not want you to be friends with. So if you have a friend who you start having problems with your husband, there's something wrong. It's either something is wrong with you or your husband. It's either your husband is being jealous. It's either you have been giving wrong signals. There are so many things that can point to that. So you need to figure out what that thing is. What is the reason why my husband is not comfortable with this person? What is the reason why my wife is not comfortable, with this person? Do I respect the feelings of my wife? Do I respect the feelings of my husband? You don't want to be with your wife and you go to a gathering and you see this person and then the whole evening is messed up because this friend is there and your husband does not like the friend. So whether you like it or not, if you have any friend that is close to you, that is a problem between you and your husband, your marriage is going to be affected.
Yes.
So you have to have a friend who is going to be around you all the time. And that's the reason I said it's always better if you're not going to force your friend on your husband.
Yeah.
You are going to, before you get married, you know what your husband likes. He knows what you like. And then your husband knows your friends. You know his friends. The ones you don't know, you will get to know. So if there's something you don't like, you would have started, those are red flags in marriage. So you would have started dealing with it even before you get married. And if you see them when you get married, you deal with them in different ways. Communication. Let it out. Let your husband know, this I do not like. This is the reason I don't like it. You can disagree, you can argue, you can quarrel over it, but make sure you sort it out. If it's becoming an issue you cannot sort out, if you need to seek help from a counselor, from elders, from people who you can trust, or people who are more experienced, that you respect, that both of you will listen to. If you need to seek help from them, do that.
Okay, thank you so much. So Cynthia,
Yes.
what's your own view about the issue of I'm not comfortable with this person that my husband is friend with?
Well, I can't speak from experience because all of his friends, I always
Close to you.
just like everybody. So, but I have had friends that didn't like female friends of their spouses, and it's very hard. It's very difficult. I don't know if she was trying to be controlling, jealous, maybe all of it, but it did take a toll on their marriage.
Wow.
And he was not happy, but he ended up letting go of that friend.
Of that friend.
Yes.
Just to save his marriage.
To save his marriage. Yes. And that says a lot.
Yeah, that does. So that's to say there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made by both sides.
Yes.
For the
Definitely.
success of a marriage. Okay. So we're going to go on a short break again, and then we will be back very soon. All right, yeah, welcome back to the show. Before we went on that short break, we were talking about having the opposite sex as a friend in a marriage. And what I am trying to pass across, or the question I really need us to talk about now is, as a woman, we want to protect our marriage. That's an instinctive thing for us to do. And then any woman we see come close to our husband, our antennas are up. Even when there is nothing wrong, even when there's nothing going on between them. But for me, if I'm going to speak about myself, I've always been this trusting person. You're not giving me any reason to. If you give me a reason why I need to question you talking to women, then I will. But I won't just go out there and run mad and be wondering who you are talking to, you are relating to, you are doing this to. So I want us to talk about this thing that we call this woman's intuition. That once I see my husband talking to this person or being close to this person is a no-no, and the person is not friend with me. Why is she trying to be a friend with my husband? And meanwhile, for you, your husband is okay with you being friend with anybody or talking with anybody. He's not freaking out. You know, but you as a woman, you say it's your intuition. You are not comfortable with it. So is that not another form of double standard?
Yes. Yes, it is. I think women, some women are they're just jealous and insecure, and things are different though now. I think in the past, without the internet and all that, I think men felt like they had the whole reign of women, whoever they wanted. Mm-hmm. So it was different back then. But with internet and online dating, it has completely changed everything. Well, I never knew that there was so many men. So, for me, it just changes everything. I think now women have also changed. Mm-hmm. Now they see that it's more of a level playing field. So they're going to have to bring up their standards to be more accepting of everyone. Because if you're jealous and controlling, it's all going to come out. Men are going to run away.
Okay, Safuka, I want to ask you this. Is that a sign of a good wife? Is that a sign of you protecting your home when you are threatened by every woman that comes close to your husband? Is that a sign of you protecting your home, or is it a sign of insecurity?
Well, it is not a sign of you protecting your husband, because if you think you want to send every woman around your husband away, you will send the angel sent to him by God away.
That's right.
In form of a woman, because that would be the person that wants to help him to get what will lead him to his breakthrough. But because it's a lady, he doesn't even want to get close to the person because he knows that, my wife doesn't want me getting close to him. And like I said before, it is trust issues. Some women behave like that because of what they have experienced in the past. Yeah. So when you see them behave like that, they've seen something, they've experienced something, maybe their husband had cheated on them, and maybe with a close friend, maybe with a friend in the office, So when you see them behave like that, so everybody around them now is a suspect, But, that's trust issues. But if you're doing that, if you're a woman, you're doing that, you're not being protective of your husband. That could even lead your husband to running away from you, because he might get irritated with the things you do when you do that, and it will lead him to getting deeper into whatever he's doing, and and you can lead your husband.
So it's not you protecting your own; it's you actually opening the door.
Why opening the door?
Right.
Yeah.
Protection is different. Jealousy is not being protective over your husband. Protecting your family.
But I said jealousy is a trait of love.
Jealousy.
That if you love someone, you'll actually be jealous to a certain extent.
Okay, well, there's different levels of jealousy. So, yes, you can say, I'm jealous. That woman just approached my husband. I got jealous. And you can laugh about it and say, what?
Yeah.
I'm having a feeling of jealousy? Why? And just think it's cute, you know. But there's other levels of jealousy where the woman would totally just go berserk. Yes, yes. And that's not good. So.
Okay, so now
And
there is
by the way, it's not only women that are jealous.
yeah,
We have men that are
That's true.
jealous.
Yes.
I mean, I've seen women who hold PhD, but their husband will not let them work because they don't want to expose them to the opposite sex. Because they're so jealous, they don't want to see any man around their wives.
My confusion though is there no difference between jealousy and insecurity? Because now this man that doesn't want the wife to work because they don't want them to be close to other men, to me I think is insecurity.
That is the jealousy leading to insecurity. The jealousy is now leading the husband to being insecure.
Yes,
In
they're
the
intertwined.
So they're intertwined.
Yes. Yes, I had a friend who worked, and I would go with them to pick her up from work, and he would be sitting there watching her, and she's telling everybody bye and just kind of hugging, bye, okay, you know. And the man was going berserk in the car.
Wow.
Look at her. She's flirting with every single man walking out the door. And I'm like, no, she's just saying bye. It's a normal thing. She's not like hanging on to anybody. And no, he really freaked out. It was very scary to see.
Wow.
Yes. And she said she has to deal with that every day. And that's why he drops her off and picks her up.
So she can't go to work herself.
No.
Wow.
Yes. It's sad. It's a sad thing.
It is a sad thing. It's actually a sad situation to be in.
Yes.
Like you can't just go off on your own.
No.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So there you have it. There is a difference between insecurity and jealousy. Jealousy comes with love, but like Cynthia said, reasonable jealousy. Not unreasonable one that makes you go berserk when you see a woman talking to your husband or a guy just waving to your wife and you go and you say, who is that? Why are you looking at that person a certain way? You know, things like that. And then that now translates to confiding in your spouse. Like if you can't have a friend, I know some women that are comfortable talking to men. They are guy friends, they are male friends, not women. So now, with those kind of women, the only person they have to confide in is their spouse. So is that what you're supposed to do as a married woman? Is that the only thing you're supposed to do once you're married? Confiding in your spouse, not having a friend that you can confide in?
Well, I think it all depends on the personality of the spouse, whether you're a man or a woman. Some men are very private and they don't have very many friends, but you know that before you get into the relationship. Right. And it could be the same way for the woman. Or the man could have a whole bunch of friends and he confides in certain one. So it all depends what the personality of your spouse is.
But is it a bad thing to have someone else you can confide in aside your spouse? Definitely.
No, it's not a bad thing. It depends on what we're talking about here. If it's, I'll say if whatever it is, as long as it doesn't have to do with abuse, you can confide in your husband first and see what he has to say. Or your wife. So whatever happens will determine if you will need to go to a higher person or to a different person. But as much as possible, try to confide in your spouse. You guys are meant to be friends. You are meant to be best friends. So if you form the habit of confiding in your spouse, it will help your marriage. When there's a problem, if it is not abusive, if it is abusive, what you have to do is you need to confide in someone else. Because if your husband is abusing you or your wife is abusing you, you need to confide in someone else.
Someone else.
Yeah, if we're not talking about abuse here, your husband, your wife should be your best friend, confide in them. If it is something you need to seek advice, because it's not everything, there are some very sensitive issues that before you discuss with your spouse, before you confide in your spouse, you want to confide with someone, maybe like your pastor, an elder who can tell you how to go about it. I know someone, I met her a few years ago. She lost her marriage because she told her husband something, and the husband felt really bad that, but I was there. How come I didn't know? How come it took you all these years to talk about it to me? She lost her marriage. And this, the husband we're talking about here is a minister in church.
Wow.
But I mean, people need to know that before being a pastor, being a minister, you are first a human being.
Amen. Yeah.
The pastors, the ministers, they have feelings in them. So he couldn't take it. So, but when you discuss things like that with people who are experienced in this field, they will be able to tell you how to go about it. But your husband, your wife should be your best friend. You should be able to confide in each other. And that takes me to, always go to bed together and talk over issues. Talk and talk and talk and talk. Except if you don't live together. I mean, we have husbands who work in different cities
Yeah.
from their wives,
Yes.
yeah. But if you're living in the same house, go to bed together, talk and talk about everything. There's nothing you shouldn't be able to talk about. Talk about sex. Talk about you not enjoying sex. Talk about everything, everything and everything in the world. There should be no boundary with your spouse. So, I mean, if you're best of friends, you will feel free to always confide because that friend you think you are confiding in might be the one to give you the wrong advice. And trust me, there had been issues with marriages coming from getting wrong advice from friends. So you need to be careful who your confidant is. Let your
Yes.
confidant be your spouse or someone who is trustworthy, someone who you respect and is trustworthy, who you know the advice is going to give to you is going to be what will move your marriage forward, not what will destroy you.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much. So,
You're welcome.
invariably, it's not wrong to confide in someone else aside your spouse.
No, it
Is
is
that
not. But remember my explanation. Your spouse first.
first? Okay.
First.
You know, there's some marriages that they don't have that communication. They don't have that thing that you are talking about because now you need to have a kind of a relationship with your spouse. Like you said, you should be friends with them. Now, you said in the case of abuse, then you need to talk to someone else. But even when it's not abuse, and you just have this thing that you want to talk about, like girls talk. Like women, when we are together at times, we want to talk about our marriages, we want to talk about our kids, we want to talk about, things going on in our life. My question is that wrong?
No, it's not wrong. As long as it's constructive, it is not wrong. As long as it's constructive. As long as you are not taking your issues to go and say, oh, this is what he does. My husband, my wife is so this, is so that, he doesn't do this. Remember, your spouse will not like to hear that the
You're
problems
talking
he
about
has
that.
with you are talking about. Yeah, nobody likes that. So as long as what you are discussing is, you are being positive about it. You're discussing it to get results, not because you just want to talk to somebody about the problem you're having with your husband. But we all do that. We ladies,
Yeah,
we do that, and
yeah.
men, they
Yes.
talk.
Yes.
We talk about our children. Oh, how's your son doing? Oh, what school is he? Oh, this is what he's doing. He's not doing well. Oh, do you want to be my son's mentor? Oh, my wife is into this. How can you help her? Oh, my husband, this is what he's doing. Is there any way you can introduce him to? There is nothing wrong in that, as long as it is constructive what you're doing. But like I
Yes.
said, you're being careful what you want to discuss about your, spouse with your friends,
Spouse.
because if you just get the wrong advice once, that can destroy your marriage.
And the other thing is, you can have a confidant that you may talk about your spouse the wrong way. And then later on, that person, that friend that is your best friend, will no longer want to hang out with your husband or be friends with even him, because he knows everything that you hate about him. And that's going to destroy the relationship you have with that friend between your husband and them.
I can relate with that, because I know there was this friend of mine. Now the thing with me is, there are times that you can be so overwhelming with the things you are taking in as a woman that you need an outlet. I remember there was a situation I witnessed with my friend and her husband, that they're always lovey-dovey. Like, there have never been a time that I witnessed any issues between them or whatever. But there was a day that she snapped at her husband in my presence. And then later I was shocked. And she said, I've been keeping quiet, I'm tired. So how do you do that? How do you correlate that? Is that there are times you don't just, things you've been complaining about in the room between the both of you, is it that you don't get tired complaining about it and you don't get to a place where you just snap, even in the presence of people?
Yeah, you can get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cynthia, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay. You can get to that point. And remember what I said. I said, when you cannot handle it, when you have pride and you cannot handle it, there's nothing wrong in seeking help. But make sure you're seeking help in the right direction. Make sure you're seeking help from people who can help you. There must be people that two of you respect as like mentors, as people you look up to, people that you know as trustworthy, not people who are going to take your matter and go out there and talk about it, or people who are going to lead you astray. So there's nothing wrong in seeking help. There's nothing wrong in going to therapists. There's nothing wrong in going for marriage counseling if the problem is getting out of hand. It doesn't have to be abused before it gets out of hand.
Yes, and I believe if you were there when that happened, that's when you show your friendship towards her. And maybe not right then and there, but that's when you pull her aside and you may want to talk to her and say, what happened? I want to know. Something's going on.
I was shocked. I was surprised, because she has never reacted in the presence of anyone before. So when I saw it, I'm like,
yes, it can be scary. It can be very scary.
She was like, I'm tired. I've been talking about this behind closed doors. I've been complaining. Like, I'm tired.
But that's when you have to become a really good friend and say, okay, well, maybe you need help. You need to maybe see a counselor, glass of wine, something to help. She needs help.
Well,
obviously, she's reaching out. She's yes. Communication, of course, is number one.
Yeah. Just letting out.
Talking to her, because for her to have snapped, we ladies, we have a way of taking in a lot of things, a lot going on around it, nobody knows. You just want to work at it, make sure your marriage is working. You are just determined in your heart, no matter what. I am not quitting. I have to make sure this thing is working. Of course, you're human. It gets to a point you're just tired. You feel like your head is going to bust. And so you being a friend and you are around at that time, God has orchestrated it, because it might be just one word you will tell her, that will calm her down. It could be you who.
She felt bad later. She felt bad that she reacted that way in my presence.
See?
Yeah. She felt bad.
But you need to let her know that she's human.
My confusion is exactly. Is it wrong to just have outbursts like that, where you can't just put anything in, you just burst out like that?
Yeah, it's natural when you are taking in so much and you feel like this is so much, and just, I mean, she was expressing herself at that time. That's the best way to could express herself. If you were not there, you wouldn't have known. Maybe
Yeah.
things like that happened in the past when you were not there, but you wouldn't have known. Yeah. So it's natural. It's not wrong for you to bust out.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So we'll go on a final break, and when we come back, we're gonna give you our final thoughts, and we'll be done with the show for today. Welcome back to the show. So we are just going to give you the final thoughts about all we've talked about today, and that will be it for the show. So I'm going to come back to you. Funke, what's your final thoughts about all we've talked about?
So summarily, we can make our relationship, our marriage work when we put all these things into consideration. Always learn to put your spouse before you. Always learn to communicate. It doesn't matter what it is. Talk, and talk to your spouse. If your spouse hurts you, don't ever feel too big to say sorry. That word sorry is a magic word. Apologize when you do something wrong. Sometimes even when you are not the one wrong, make the first move, and just be determined that, I mean, you are going to make your marriage work, and the Lord will help you in the mighty
Amen.
name of Jesus. And if you out there going through turbulence in your marriage, I pray that the hand of the Lord will be upon your marriage for
Amen.
perfection in the mighty
Amen.
name of Jesus.
Amen. Thank you so much, Cynthia.
Thank
Your
you.
final thoughts.
Thank you.
That's all?
Oh, you want my final thought? Okay, so double standard is there are different levels of double standard. So communication is number one, and of course things are evolving better. So our new generation and even our people that are my age, and we're all learning. We're all learning. So it's all getting better and better every year. So I just want to say that yes, there's still double standard, even being single. There is, but it's getting better, and it all comes down to communication.
Okay. All right. So there you have it, guys. Communication. Talk about it. Whatever it is, like Funke said, it doesn't matter. Once you get on that bed, talk about whatever it is that happened on that day. I've actually had that mindset from a very long time. I want to talk about issues once we get on the bed, deal with it and move on. I know there are some of us that are like that are in relationships like that, where we want to address issues and our spouses are not ready. They're not even on the same page with us. We just have to keep trying. So the key is talk.
Real talk.
And real talk.
Real talk with Odun.
Yes. All right. So thank you all so much for coming on the show with us. Thank you, Funke. Thank you, Cynthia. We had fun having you guys with us. So until next time when we come your way, I still remain your girl, your daughter, your friend, and your fellow woman, Odun Akirele. And this is Glimpse Extra. See you next time.